is one rack of shipping containers. One. This whole field is usually full of shipping containers.
There's a perfect storm brewing in the US. I know I've been talking about this for 2 days now, but I just realized it's worse. I'm also going to quickly cover the Liberal housing plan and whether this year is a good year to buy a house. And I'm going to kick it off with Canada's GDP. First up, let's put Canada's GDP for Q1 in context. The Q1 GDP for the US went down 0.3%. They're negative. The EU's Q1 GDP went up 1.2%. And our Q1 GDP got lost in the shuffle because February underperformed. And we've had some stuff happening. Elections and all that. But Canada's Q1 GDP, 1.5%. Better than the Eurozone, much better than the US. We didn't even have a prime minister. Imagine what we can do now. And this segues perfectly into housing. I've had some questions as to whether this year is a good time to buy a house. Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably the best year to buy a house. Specifically this summer. Why? As I mentioned yesterday, there's a slowdown happening. Okay? And that slowdown will persist throughout the summer because May, today, is when the slowdowns begin every year. So we're going to slow down off of a slowdown. Sellers are going to be freaking out. Now, I want to caution, it's not like I think next year will be super expensive or the year after that will be super expensive. But I do think this is the year. This is the golden year because of low activity and falling rates. Word of caution, don't try to time the rates. Just find a decent house and think long term. You should always think long term in a house, like 5, 10, 15 years. Like folks that bought at the peak in 2022, it's only been 3 years. Like you got 2 more years to go. But if you weren't thinking that way, like 2032 is when you should be thinking about divesting from that house. If that's not how you thought when you bought it. Anyway, so people wanted me to talk about the Liberal housing plan versus the Conservative housing plan prior to the election. What was the point? You know my feelings on the Conservative housing plan. It was just going to make everything more expensive. But the Liberal housing plan, yeah, it makes sense. And you know it does. Why do we manufacture everything? Huh? Why do we manufacture everything? Do you really think that Mark Carney's prefab plan is fiction? No, we manufacture everything because that's the cheapest way to do it with the highest quality and the most profitability. I think investing in prefab housing, basically factories to build housing, that's the way to go. I've thought that for a long time. Like, think about your car. Imagine if you bought a car and they came and assembled it in your driveway. Can you imagine how expensive your car would be? And it'd be messed up. That's what we do with housing. You buy a piece of land and then they bring the parts of the house to that land and assemble it on site. It's positively archaic. Like, no surprise, I follow home inspectors. You should see some of the shit the home inspectors post. Plumbing, going through electrical outlets, and don't even get me started about framing. So I do think this is a good idea. I think it's the way to go. All right, the perfect storm brewing in the US. You've heard me the past couple days, right? There's the shortages, there's a slowing economy, people will lose their jobs. That on its own is bad enough. But now there's this. This is from Monday, when we were having our election, so, kind of flew under the radar for us. From the White House, this is the new, very verbose executive order. What does it do? Basically militarizes the police. And adds this: legal defense of law enforcement, and this mechanism shall include use of private sector pro bono assistance for such law enforcement officers. And the president has been stocking up on pro bono work from a variety of law firms. Just gonna put this out there. Why would policing need legal defense? And armed with additional legal defense, what do you think the policing is going to do when the shit hits the fan? And shit will hit the fan. All I gotta say is, I'm glad I don't live there.